We're down to item number 7, which is adjustments and approval of the agenda. If there's any item any board member would like to remove from the agenda, change, or add an item to the agenda. Mr. Manager, do you have anything to add?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to add an item to new business. It would be item 10I, and that will be discussion of moving animal control under the Macon County Health Department and doing the necessary ordinance revisions to accomplish that.
Okay. Ms. Shields, anything to add or change? Bill? Paul? No, sir. I'd like to add one. We were asked to consider by the U.S. Motto Action Committee the adding of In God We Trust to county property at their expense, not county expense, and we agreed we would possibly bring that back up to discuss. And I would suggest that we place that under old business, since we've already talked about it. That would be 9C. We'll discuss, we'll call that U.S. Motto. Any other additional? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended. A motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? That motion passes. We've already done 8, A, B, and C. 8D, presentation regarding robotics program for middle school students. Stan McCormick is here. Stan.
Joe Front.
Yeah. Okay. Jeff. Welcome. I've met these two gentlemen. We had a nice meeting a few weeks ago. We have. Sorry for the wait. We had sort of a front-end loaded meeting. We're moving fast now.
All right. Just want to bring you up to speed quickly on a project that's underway here in the county as well as across 6 other counties here in western North Carolina in the boundary schools. It's a project focusing on implementation starting in the middle schools, the elementary schools. It's a project that really focuses on economic development improvement. We run a project, we talked to over 100 CEOs about what their needs are in terms of higher education and K-12. And the notion of having world-class K-12 STEM education is a critically important thing for a lot of reasons, from a development perspective as well as from the student perspective. And so their response to us was resounding very important. So what we've engaged in is a project to implement a program to provide robotic STEM teams in all the middle schools, in the elementary schools, and the six county school systems. Macon County being a key one. The importance is echoed, as you can read there, in terms of what the business community believes is critically important about science, technology, engineering, and math. On the basis of the project. In addition to STEM, which is science, technology, engineering, and math, the critical need for improving that, what we find is by the end of 8th grade, 50% of all students are actively avoiding STEM subjects. And what the business community is telling us is the National Science Foundation says 80% of all current future jobs require STEM. We've got to turn that tide around so we engage students in that process. In addition to STEM skills, it's all those 7 survival skills. The school systems that we call the 21st century survival, 21st century job skills, things like critical thinking, collaboration, ability to influence others, entrepreneurial spirit, written communication are all critically important in what our development is for our students. And this program that we're talking about implementing focuses on all of those. Our challenge is to immediately implement programs that graduate students world-class STEM and how to use that in a real-world environment and use Dr. Wagner's 7 survival skills and good. The issue isn't just an educational problem, it's really a marketing problem. What I mentioned in terms of the students avoiding it, there's an active avoidance, we need to turn that around. This program is extremely exciting and engages the kids in that process. The key to it is the first implementation is the robotics program that we'll show you a video on here in a moment. And it really focuses on it being student-led discovery, which is the students are engaged in their learning process, which is critically important to all of us. As you mentioned, the after-school STEM teams, going in all the middle schools and elementary schools is the key to that. Dean Kingman is a serial inventor who founded FIRST, and invented all of this and came after these projects and just these projects. The simple mission of founding this organization was to sneak up on kids and get them to love science and math without them knowing what's happening. He's got 5 secret ingredients. What we found is the robotics program are as addictive as video games. The kids really enjoy what they're doing. They put their hands on it. Once you get engaged with it, they don't want to leave it alone. The key element of this is incredibly fun. I talked a bit about the fact that it's student-led discovery. We look at this program and elevating it to the same stature as team sports. One team sports I wouldn't have had in college education. But the reality is, you're twice as likely to win the lottery as you are to become a pro athlete in sports. This program, everybody that participates in this is going to be a pro. Great job.
Did you play basketball?
Actually, it was football. The key part of this is not only we engage the businesses to provide sponsorship dollars to support the program, but mentors to mentor the teams. So one of the key findings of all the studies was many of the students, most of the students involved with this, the first time they rubbed shoulders with a technologist was through a program like this. Now, in the studies we did, we found business leaders tell us no one knows what an engineer does unless your parents an engineer. And in fact, a lot of growing jobs are engineer kind of basis. So it's critically important to engage students in an activity that shows them what kind of things they can be doing in the future. So to answer the ultimate question that they all ask, why in the world would I ever want to learn this stuff? This is critically important. This program was started about 20 years ago with 10 teams. It's now over 250,000 students participating internationally. And what I'll show you is a short video about this project. It was the first implementation in Forsyth County. The program started, which you'll see is the conclusion, the final tournament. It was a 12-week elapsed period. When the students that you'll see in this video started, none of them had any experience with robotics or with any of these. You'll see at the end all the skills that the employers are salivating for and educators are doing for as well.
If you think robots are just in the movies, think again. Real robots compete for honors at the 2011 Robot Run.
Forsyth Tech's West Campus was the site of the 2011 Robot Run, with over 20 teams from around Forsyth County competing. The challenge? Build a robot out of Legos. Program the robot and send it through an obstacle course that would challenge
Many Transformers.
Last competition we made these robots and they were pretty good in the competition, and over the past couple weeks we've been improving it, and we're just going to use the same strategy as last time, and we're just hoping it's going to work.
Teams made up of junior high school students, along with adult mentors, register to compete in the annual Robot Run. When they register, they are given the basic robot computer, the custom software to program the robot, the scale obstacle course, and all the Legos they need to build their robot and transformer arms to complete the obstacle course. In addition to the Robot Run, each team will also be judged on 3 additional components: robot design, research project, core values.
What sets your robot uniquely different from any other city town?
Probably the forklift, because it can pull up some big stuff, real big stuff. Like this, it goes like that.
If you mess up by just like 1 or 2 centimeters, then your whole program is off, and you can't get it to do what you need it to do.
And if you make a whole program at once, and you change it again, it changes again. This basically comes from base, turns around and gets the nearest bacteria. It falls on the floor, but we pull it back to base.
We come up with the person that dies, and we go into the investigation, and
they try to find out what happened, and they find out, and they close it down in the restaurant. To my understanding, cabbages from our store rented it inside for about 1 month until they're ready to be put outside with pesticides and water.
Tell us how you decided which problem you chose to study. How did you decide this?
We thought that since food might get spoiled on the way from when it gets picked to it can have so many problems that have to do with food poisoning. So we have
two ideas that are really good, then we might try both of them, and if they both work really well, we might just go ahead and combine them together.
Okay, so some kind of compromise.
When we came, like in the morning, none of us knew each other. So when we went on Mr. Fry, our coach told us, this is our team. We started cooperating with each other. We started giving each other ideas, pointers, and all this other stuff. So yeah, you're Minsky.
The real fun begins when each team is introduced and the robot run begins. Every team will be given 3 runs on the obstacle course. Then, the judges will compute all the scores based on all 4 events. And the winners will be announced. There are a number of trophies that will be awarded, with the overall winner taking home the grand prize trophy. No matter who takes home a trophy, everyone has a great time.
Oh, I enjoy it all right. I mean, it's just, I don't know, you meet new people and it's like really fun.
Well, I know a lot about robots now, so I can just kind of join and see what's going on. And then I figured out I really liked it, so I just stayed with it.
Look at it next week.
Robot Run 2011 was a great time for all. So, get ready for Robot Run 2012.
I just want to share with you what the program is about. It's coming year. We're in the process of soliciting funds to support the project. The project currently with 7 counties is something about $182,000. We've got over half of that pledge. It's about $3,500 per team, so support for a team would be great. And Phil Drake has graciously agreed to support matching any dollars that are contributed to it. So it's important. It's a project of great importance, and it's going to be great.
Any questions, gentlemen? And to be clear, I think what Mr. Drake said he would do is do a 1-to-1 match for every dollar he would give a dollar.
So how old were these kids in the video?
They were from 9 to 14.
So some of them now, that's been 4 years ago. Some of them are 18. Some of them are in college, maybe. Or
They're probably just now getting.
do you follow up on any of these kids? Or?
We have not followed up with this group. And what we do now is we have a follow-up survey that does track the value of the program beforehand and the impact that it's had afterwards.
What are you finding?
We're finding that the tendency, the national average is 7% of graduates continuing on to STEM education. participants in this program continue on at a rate of 68%. And what we found in implementation in public schools, we looked at the program in years past, typical teams were 7% that were going to go into this field anyways. When you implement it through public schools, it reaches the entire spectrum of students. We need to have 8% of all students, that's males, females, minorities, all have to be engaged, and it draws a new identity. Diversity from the community as well as the diversity of the community as well.
Thank you.
Are you familiar with the Golden Leaf project that's starting to circulate within this county with this
Stack project?
Pardon me?
The Stack project?
The steel, yes. It's the Golden Leaf. Mr. Deacons, has this anything to do?
No,
Presentation next month, right?
Right, that's not, it's two different programs, but this is, they're both STEM related.
They're both encouraging the same.
Right, they both encourage the same kind of education.
We're presenters at their conference.
Are you familiar with Southwestern Community College and their influence in this grant? Is that right? Golden Leaf?
Yes. Dr. Thomas is supporting this project. This
Two different. Money, we need money for both. We need monies, period.
And you presented this to the Board of Education.
Questions, comments? Let me, I think I'm missing this one through the money. Run through the money deal one more time.
The money for the project is $178,000 is what we're sourcing from the community.
So what do we get for 100? How many teams is that?
That'll be 50 teams.
About 500 kids. And that's just the first year.
Okay, and so Field sponsor $1 per dollar.
Now, those 15 wouldn't all be in that step.
Oh,
He's funding the 7 county. 7 county or 6 county?
6
Seven.
counties in the boundary schools. And 7 schools.
Okay. So it's not Haywood County?
Not yet.
we don't really know how many teams we have.
Right now, we're planning on having 2 teams at NBI and the middle school, and Highlands is also considering having a team. We're trying to come up with that now.
That's 2, 4, 5, 6, 7.
5 or 6, probably. May not have 2 at Highlands. 1 or 2 at Highlands.
Are y'all funding that?
Through CG funds, we contribute $5,000, and that's for the math.
Funding for a team includes the sponsorship, includes the mat, the rope, and the tournament.
Mr. Chairman, I suggest that we give the superintendent and just see what we're going to do and take it under advisement and the liaison committee. If you agree to that, and we get together and if you, the superintendent, that's it with you, take it under advisement with the liaison committee and we'll bring back the recommendation, Mr. Chairman.
I concur.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate your time.
It's nice to see.
We have under full business, presentation of building inspection and environmental health, department of fee analysis, county manager. Thank you, guys. Lake Holly.
They beat us. They beat us in the playoffs when my son played. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I'll pass out to the board real quick a copy of the report that I put together concerning the fees in the environmental health and building inspections department. I have Higgins, if you would like to say anything right
No,
now, or it was, I have something video as well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Like I said, that is the final product of what I was asked to conduct in June. On June 9th, the Board of Commissioners requested by consensus that I look into the fees at the Environmental Health and Building Inspections Department. And that kind of came at the request of Commissioner Higdon. As I was going through this, this is accountability. This is a major role that we have as government, as we're accountable to the citizens for the services we provide and the price that we're providing them at. And it never hurts to look around the region and know where we are with respect to both service level and fees. So, again, commend you for you bringing that up. And as we've moved into this, we have found some information. I chose to use a regional comparison because, as I said before, the discretion given to me was broad discretion, and I chose the region as a study group, if you will, our 7-county Haywood West region, because we're so similar to the surrounding counties. We're similar in topography, we're similar demographically, and we're similar economically in that the primary industries for these counties are second homes and tourism. And so, although our populations differ and the sizes of the government organizations differ, we do have those commonalities. If you'll notice, the report not only addresses fees, it does go into performance as well, just as price is important of the services we provide. I think that performance and how we're comparing efficiency-wise in performing these services to other counties is important as well. What you will see in this report is the building inspections is first. And what that does is it takes inspections per inspector. It is the first category here in this report. And Building Inspection Department in Macon County in fiscal year 14-15 did 5,556 inspections. How many is that? Well, we have 4 inspectors, so that's about 1,389 inspections per inspector. The regional average here is 1,212. And I have, below all these are explanations of how each of these averages were calculated within each of the respective categories. If you have any questions as we're going through this report, please feel free to ask. I will not take time to go through and read each explanation. The next is residential building permits. Macon County issued 98 in fiscal year 14-15. The average for our region was 81. The average permit fee, and again, I will, in the media you have the information on how it's calculated. If you guys have any questions, feel free to contact me with that as well. Basically, it takes, within each respective county, it looks at the permit fee structures for all of the building permits issued from, like in Macon County, it goes 0 to 1,000 square feet is a price, 1,000 to 2,000, and so on and so forth. Each county has a different way of doing things. They don't do them all the same. So basically, I took the 0 to 5,000 square feet and calculated what is the average cost of a building permit for all categories, 0 through 5,000 square feet. In Macon County, that cost is $912.50. The regional average is $874.14. The last slide I feel is an important slide for the Building Inspections Department. It is a percentage of the department here on page 5 that is supported by revenue. In Macon County, 75% of the operating expenses are supported by revenue we take in. In fiscal year 14 and 15, our operating budget in the Building Inspections Department was $501,164. We took in $377,754, but we budgeted $377,754 for the revenue, and we budgeted $501,164 for expenditures. Again, that equates to about 75%. If you look at the baseline here, the regional average for the county is about 60%. The conclusions here, Macon County number of inspections per building inspector, 14.6% above the regional average. Macon County number of new residential building permits issued, 21% above the regional average. The average permit fee is 4.4% above the average that we're seeing in the region, and 75% of the Macon County Building Inspections Department is supported by revenue. This is 15%, again, above that 60% regional average. The Environmental Health Department, in getting into, before we get into environmental health, I was speaking earlier today, and Jim and I had this conversation. When you get into talking about environmental health permits, Paul, we've talked about it, the way the permits are calculated, the way inspections are calculated, or site visits, and how the different counties count these. It's all across the board. So we did the best we could. Jim reached out to his colleagues in the public health departments across our 7-county western region. Like with building inspections, I reached out to county managers as well and got their feedback and information, and we've tried to keep that margin of error as low as possible in this report. But I do want to make you aware, and I have indicated in this report, that there could be a margin of error there simply because of how these are calculated. But again, we've worked and looked at these numbers and tried to make that as small as possible. The inspections per inspector in fiscal year 14 and 15, environmental health overall inspections did 1,151. That is, with the number of inspectors on staff, that averages out to about 230 inspections per inspector. The average inspections per inspector for the region was 257. So there, we're right on target with that baseline. 20 inspections below the baseline, but we're still right there in that group. The permits issued per inspector, again, I highlight here in the explanation below that the way that these permits, when they're issued, are calculated by different counties. There could be some room for variance there. We did our best to address this with each and every person that responded. Here, permits issued per inspector, the regional average, 191 permits per inspector. Macon County is at 162. And the average permit fee for on-site wastewater, and this is where kind of what began this discussion and what kind of sparked getting into this research. These permit fees, and I will elaborate on this explanation very quickly. There are 3 different types of on-site wastewater permits. There's an improvement permit, a construction authorization permit, and an operating permit. Improvement permit basically says you can put a septic tank on this property. Construction authorization permit is more detailed, clearly defines where you can put that septic permit on your property. And lastly, the operating permit is what is issued when the system is checked and make sure the system is operating properly. In this particular slide, operating permits in all counties except Haywood are included in the combined improvement permit and construction authorization rate. Now here in Macon County, like many counties, like the majority of the counties that responded to this survey, there is or all of the counties that responded to this survey, when you are going to purchase these permits, if you purchase an improvement permit, they give you the option of combining the improvement permit and the construction authorization permit to get a better deal. So what I have done here is used the rates that each county has for the combined IP and improvement permit and construction authorization rate, assuming that we're getting that each county is giving their combined rate. So those are the rates that are shown here. And for purposes of this analysis, these rates have been used for residential homes up to 5 bedrooms. What does that mean? You start at 0. You have 5 bedrooms. That is your parameters. In different counties, again, it's calculated differently. For a 2 to 3 bedroom house has one rate for IPCA. The 3 to 4 bedroom house could have a different rate for IPCA. But all those were taken and averaged to get the average permit fees in each of these counties. In Macon County, at $750 for that average permit fee combined improvement permit construction authorization is $750. The regional average is $480. So that fee is high, but about 56% above what we're seeing regionally. Well permit fees, they were much easier to document across the board, as usually these counties have a single permit fee. There could be some testing fees, like a $20 water sampling that is done in one county that Jim brought to my attention. But here, at $375, the average, what we're seeing in the region is $329. We're not an outlier with respect to that. Haywood County is at $375 as well. And lastly, page 10, the percentage of departments supported by revenue. Macon County, 29% of the environmental health is supported by revenues taken in. This department has a budget had a budget in fiscal year 14-15 of $493,190. The budgeted revenue for fiscal year 14-15, $143,178. And at 29% supported by revenue, we are about 18% below the regional average in terms of revenue that actually supports those operating expenses. In the back here, you will see pages 11 and 12, 13 is just the information that was used to make these charts here in front of you. I will bring your attention to the fact that, we talk about inspections per inspector in environmental health and building inspections. Well, that was to basically get it as apples to apples as you can get it, because although Graham County doesn't do as many permits as we do, if they have one inspector, when you take it down to that inspections per inspections level, it gets everything on the same playing field. I will bring your attention to the fact here, when you look at total inspection or total site visits here for environmental health at 1151, and again, this is not per inspector, this is total for the department. Here at 1151, that is well above the 857 that is average for the region. And also the permits issued at 809, that number of permits is well above that 613 permit regional average. Just wanted to call your attention to that. The board had asked me specifically to conduct this analysis and make a recommendation as to whether or not we could use contingency to offset this loss in revenue that a fee reduction would result in. We attended a health board meeting earlier this month, and at that meeting, myself, Commissioner Higgins, Commissioner Shields were there. The health board indicated at that time that they would, the only way they would support a fee reduction is if the commissioners voted to offset that decrease in revenue. So, again, it's back here. You've asked me to put this report together. I have put the report together to speak a little bit to our contingency fund and my recommendation regarding that. The contingency fund in 15-16 for the recommended budget, we recommended $273,739 in that contingency fund. As we went through budget discussions, that contingency fund was reduced to $158,739 to start the fiscal year 15-16. Now we're talking about to get the fees of the on-site wastewater permits to a level closer in line with the baseline that's been established for our region. We talked about $52,000 as being the number that would make that happen. Our contingency currently sits at $155,000, and this contingency fund, as it's established for the unexpected emergencies that we have, I cannot recommend to reduce that contingency by $52,000. Again, the money's there. I will not recommend that as you asked me to provide you my recommendation. And looking at how we're stacking up in the region, I mean, clearly our fees are higher in on-site wastewater, which is what, again, initiated this discussion. And I do think that as we move on, alternatives would be to continue to look for ways to reduce our expenditures or new revenue sources that could possibly offset this decrease in fees. Again, we're less than a quarter of the way through fiscal year 15-16, and with all that, with the majority of the year lying ahead, I would recommend to let's talk about additional options, or take it into the budget discussions in fiscal year 16-17. But again, I think the school of thought behind what produced this report and what initiated this report, the accountability factor, I think that's great, and I don't think that needs to get lost in the fee stuff, because we need to look at stuff like this. This is what makes us, when we compare ourselves to our region, we shouldn't expect the same level of service or that Mecklenburg County, or you can't compare it to Wake County. You know, we're a mountain region, 7 counties west, and the levels of service and the prices that are established are customary and expected within that region. And I think as we uncover baselines like this, that are baselines for how we're performing as a region, and baseline of how we're pricing ourselves in a region, I think that does nothing but make us better. And so again, great job on recommending that, and I think the process, just as important as what it produced in the report, was both valuable.
Questions, Jim?
I'm very impressed here. I think that's something that's great knowledge for me. I guess my thought is that I agree with you in the fact that we probably can't handle this based out of contingency for this year, but I can see where it can be considered in the budget year going forward. And I presume that 52,000 number is probably a moving number based upon averages of how many permits reached or whatever. But it's obvious we're higher, but I haven't been attending. I mean, is there some type of economic value or something that we're seeing potential of more permits, or I mean, I understand the reasoning. I mean, it's good to have it less, but is there some other benefit we'll get out of it, or just trying to get a little bit of relief on these specific permits?
I haven't seen anything that says lower fees equal more permits. Now, Commissioner Hickman didn't mention that at the Board of Health meeting. It is more, I think you were looking at it as more of a fairness thing. I'll let you speak to that.
This is important, and I think evaluating all services should be a routine matter. And once you come up with a result, or you need to either act on it or shelve it. But I've been involved in environmental health and health department for 30 years, probably as long as anybody except Jim in the room. I understand these fees, and for years I've advocated as a member of the Board of Health that our fees were the highest in the western part of the state, possibly the state, in some particular fees. And I suggested reducing these just as a matter of fairness. It's not going to be an economic boom. I don't think it dictates whether someone builds a house or buys a property. We always hear about overregulation and too many fees for everything, private, commercial development. No, lowering these fees is not going to stimulate this economy. I think it's a matter of saying, hey, we want to be competitive, we want to be fair, particularly with our biggest competitor, which would be Jackson County. Jackson County has a simple formula for determining what their fees are, and our fees have always just been adjusted without any logic, any formula. Oh, let's make this one a little higher, let's make this one a little higher. And now that range has gotten so skewed that it's not fair. There's no fairness or logic into our fee schedule, and that's what's precipitated my recommendation. Let's look at this, see if we can fund it and adjust it to our neighbor over in in Jackson County. And we're at the point now, the health board says they're not going to recommend it if it's would endanger funding to the health department. You know, I'm not saying that the health department can cut their fee or can cut their expenses. That's not for me to determine. But if we can't find money, and the only reason I suggested in the budget process, we had some contingency money, but Ronnie and Kevin got to it before I did. No, I mean, we funded some other issues that were important, you know, and that's why I said, hey, let's look at this fee. I thought that was a perfect time to broach that situation, but I'm game for anything. I just think it would be it's just a matter of saying, hey, we want to be fair to the consumers in real estate, construction, and construction-related businesses by reducing our fees, and if we can do it, fine. If we can't,
and in looking at that, it's another thing when we talk about recurring expense. If we take 52,000 out right now, and assuming all things remain constant, the next fiscal year we're starting out. Again, assuming everything remains constant, then that contingency is automatically at 100,000, and that's just again saying that expenditures and revenues were constant for fiscal year 15-16. Another thing that I was seeing when I went through this, and is the percentage of department that's supported by revenue in the region at 29%. We're not the lowest, as Haywood and Jackson County both here on page 10 show 21% of their departments are supported by revenue. I do think if we further put money in there, that percentage is going to continue to drop, and then it becomes what is how much of if you're building a house, then that equates to basically you're only paying for 29%. See what I'm saying? Of your fee. In other words, the rest of it, the remaining
It's funded by the tax.
the remaining 61% would be funded by taxpayers. So 71, excuse me. Didn't teach me too good in Franklin. But no, anyway. But seriously, that's another thing that you're up against there.
And the only solution to that, the only alternative, as Mr. Shields mentioned, is to reduce your expenses. It doesn't have to be either or.
That's the other side.
And that's the purpose of evaluating these, and this is only a baseline for the staffing and permit. I mean, we can refine and do a little more detail on some of this.
It's a baseline, and I think, and I mentioned here on the first page of this, that, as a public service organization, we're privileged to have such a, we don't have any copyrighted or proprietary information. We're in a business that free-flowing information is, it's public record. And so unlike the private sector, I think on a regional level, through our council of governments or whatever, that we could take advantage of something like this and create some baselines and performance measures for this region in all departments. I agree with that.
Good work. It seems like Mr. Rutner, it's his department, he's one that, we have those who really say so in that department, as none. As a matter of fact, all we do is go to the airport. Other than that, we pay them. That's all, I think they're going to say, so we got. So, Mr. Rutner, do you have anything to add here?
No, Derek and I talked a lot during the process. There are some things like when you talk about, as Derek puts it, number of permits, inspections per inspector. Having a low number in that, with the number of permits we issued, is really a good thing. Having a lower number than other people of inspections, that means our guys are going out and doing more permits with less site visits than the average health department in the region. That's the way you interpret that. And when we look at average fees, though our average fee is $750, if you actually look at the average and say, okay, and this is going way deeper than where Derek went, this is just skimming the surface, but if you take average fees across the region, you go, okay, how many 2- and 3-bedroom houses are you putting in, and how many 4-bedroom houses you're putting in, less than 10% of the builds in Macon County are 4-bedroom or above. So less than 10% of our permits are more than $500. So our $500 permit is really within the range. And when you look at other counties, and I've had conversations with the health directors, it's similar. If you look at actually the permits issued for 2- and 3-bedroom houses, in every county in the West, it's almost the same number, percentage-wise, as there are for 4-bedroom and above. So I mean, we can go way deep into this, but I think that they're good is great.
Any questions, comments? I didn't hear you say you can find 50,000 on the book.
Close this gap here. I think that's a budget item down the road. I think next month, you got your golden leave program that's going to be coming here next month. It'll be percentage-wise, place task to help out in that. I couldn't see it tonight as far as covering out 52,000.
Or even a percentage of that. You know, I'm not saying that's the magic number. It's all or nothing.
Yeah.
I'm saying anything that we do, when at the fairness of reducing these fees, is commitment. It doesn't have to be all at once. It can be a gradual thing. Kyle's done a lot of studies on how to recommendations, but I don't think that's good. I think we just need to evaluate it across the board. They're hired. What can we do to address that? Can we reduce them a little bit? Do we have to reduce them all? I'm an advocate of doing away with it completely, but I know that wouldn't fly.
Well, and I think this report here tonight, this has accomplished that first step, and that is to get it on the radar and get it as part of discussions, and as we work through the fiscal year 16-17 budget, when we have our work session, and we can, this will, I would assume, come up again at our work session, and at that time we can, Jim and I can work together through the budget process and see what we can do there.
And this is really a health board decision. I mean, it comes down to the budget, so. We need to add more to the budget?
Well, I think that's what they're saying, that the fees that they're requesting, we have to, that's good, that's what they're, but then I agree, Derek, this needs to be a recurring situation.
Yeah, we'll try to find a little bit too. No, the
I think there's a lot of answers. Just have to study a little bit more. Here then, in budget time is when you get your brains to work. And we're going to be giving heck on all sides.
and Franklin's got the best education system in the United States.
Where'd you go to school?
Good summary.
All back there, so.
Kristen.
Thank you, Mr. Manager. Item B, change orders for Union Academy and Highland School renovation project.
His match better be close.
Thanks, sir.
The first change order that I'm going to give you is the one on the Union Academy renovation. Very similar to the last one I brought you. We're looking at change orders number 9 and number 10, number 11, number 12. The others you have already approved. We've had to add 2 additional circuits, per row in the computer lab at Union, to accommodate the equipment that we're putting in, 1474-76. And then we had to put in ceiling inspection hatches in the restroom renovation, and that is required by code, by local inspectors. Let me say before everybody's getting a pat on the back tonight, let me give a pat on the back to the Macon County Inspections Department, Bobby Bishop and Jack Morgan and under county manager's direction. Jack has been there every day on both of these projects, and because Jack has been there, that's the reason these projects keep moving the way that they do. We don't have to call for the usual process of getting inspections because Jack's there every day, and so he looks at the work every day as it occurs. And it has been a great process. So that is the you can see what the contingency was at the top of the page, and you look at the balance at the bottom. You can see we're about halfway through that contingency in that project right now. We're due to move into the back, what I call the south end of the building. They're due to move in on October 23rd and be finished with that part of the building. And then we'll flip the students down to the finished part and move into the other part with completion around December 12th.
Now, Trey, there was engineer drawings done on the electrical, I saw.
Yes, there were.
So how did he miss the circuits?
We had to, the school system has to take some fault in that, Ronnie, in the fact that we told them that all they needed to do was to put back exactly what was there. But then after we did the, so they didn't do the loads, and then not knowing what we was going to put back. And then once we saw what we was going to put back, we had overstretched the load on that.
We know there's going to be a computer lab.
We did. But we did the same thing in Highlands. We already approved that last month, and we had to do that. So if we're going to have, we could put it back the way it was, but then you're stretching the load on that circuit, and just didn't feel good about it. And then what if you had something in the future? What if you change and add more in the future? If we had, and that might be a possibility. Highlands next.
Chris Queen, he charged $700 something a circuit.
Oh yeah. You know how his contractors.
You got a breakdown on them?
You know how his contractors are.
No, but you got a breakdown on them. I'd like to see it. $700 something for a circuit. I know a little bit about that. You got that right.
Well, now, in doing that, there's more than just on those circuits. There's low voltage wiring involved in that too. So don't stress about that. I know there's low voltage in that. If you want me to get all that to you, I don't have it with me now.
A little late for that.
Yeah, it is. As you see, and there are some numbers missing, Mr. Bill. And those numbers that are missing, those change orders missing, are those that I'm not happy with the numbers, and I'm still working and rolling those numbers and dialing them down. Any questions about the union? I've not answered Donnie's question, I know, but.
You say there's some numbers, are these solid numbers that you're asking?
Yeah, those are solid numbers. Those are solid numbers.
Does it change, or you say you're still working on something?
Oh, I've just a couple of, you see the change orders on that particular one is showing some, on the union project, it goes from 1 to 6 and it jumps, you don't see 7, 8 on there, and that's because 7 and 8, I have questioned those numbers, and I will have to bring those to you at a later date. In fact, one of them I'm trying to zero instead of making a change order. I still try to work in your best interest, even though I work on the office school system. On the Highlands project, you have change order 7 through 12. And again, change order number 6 was additional marker and tack boards. This is something that we felt that we had enough marker and tack boards up there, but then after it was reviewed by the administration and some of the teachers up there, they felt like they needed some more additional marker and tack boards at some locations, and so that accumulated $1668.9. In the computer lab, the computer lab, I guess it's in the IT is what it says, the lab IT. we'll do some power revisions up there. The online courses, Jim's familiar, first room on the right is you go in the high school wing. That's where they do the online coursework. We're going to double the number of stations there from what it was. Now, when the engineers went in there, they counted the number of stations that was in that room, and so they duplicated, put those stations back like they were. But we're seeing an increase in the demand for that, so we're going to double the number of stations in that room, and so that's where the 36, 25, 75 comes in. And that is electrical and also internet access going in that IT lab. And then 7, 8, 9, 10, and 11 are credits back. We did some revisions after looking at it, from what the engineers had it, and felt like we didn't need that. And so we admitted that and took a credit back from the general contractor on that work. Also, you see a big one there, $4,332.90 cafeteria windows. When they went in, they started replacing windows in that high school wing, including the cafeteria and the dining hall. They had those scheduled for replacement. That section of the building was not built, not done when the high school wing was done. And those windows are already an aluminum type window that's like what we were putting in to the high school wing. So it may have been useless to take out a perfectly good window that still has many, many years of life left in it and replace it. So I had that omitted from the project when I saw it. And so you wind up with the change order for Highlands with a $784.98 credit. And you can see what the bottom line balance is. We're much better off at Highlands than we are at Union as far as contingency to begin with and the amount of changes that occurred. There will be a change order from Highlands. I will tell you about now. It came today, but it's too late for this meeting. It's going to be for over $4,000. We've got back moisture tests on the slab at Highlands. Of course, I know we've had a lot of rain and a lot of wet weather, but actually the tests occurred before all this heavy rain occurred. And we've got a moisture issue up there. And if we use the glue that was specified in the contract, we're probably going to get some weeping up through the VCT. And we've had that same problem down Hale already. We have that problem already in the Highlands Elementary wing. And so I think it's worth the $4,000 change order next month. There's a new substance out, a new type of adhesive that they're guaranteeing that it will it'll seal the floor, keep the moisture from coming up, but at the same time allow it to breathe, so we don't have this moisture issue.
5 years. Yeah, 5 years.
Well, I hope longer than 5 years.
That's how the glue goes.
Probably so. But guarantees are only as good as.
So what's the percentage of completion up to date at Highlands?
At Highlands, their completion date is going to be about December 1. They appear to be on target. That December is not delivering in the timely fashion that we think. So we'll probably be putting windows in over Christmas break up there. That will not change the fact that we're going to go ahead and move into it. We'll have to put the windows in on weekends and after school hours.
For 55, 60?
I'd say roughly 60% at Highlands.
In Union?
I'd say Union, we're probably better than that. We're probably closer to 70%. It doesn't look like you go up there, but they've done a lot of demolition and got a lot of work, and they're starting to pull wire into the front end of the building already. So they're way ahead of the game. And everything's at Union. We have windows up there, windows being put in. We have the heat system set up at Union. In fact, we're going to power up the heat on that south end of the building probably next week. Better when it's getting cold.
Mr. Chairman, I'll mention a great change.
So motion second by Shields. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Opposed? That motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Bell. Thank you, sir. The 9C is the U.S. motto. The U.S. Motto Action Committee came to us and with some information indicated to us that if we chose to put that lettering above our entranceways and our boardroom, they would pay for it at their expense. And just to reiterate that, that's the U.S. motto, which is "In God We Trust." And we took it under advisement, and Chester has prepared a potential resolution for that. Chester,
I'll hand that out to you, sir.
and we'll consider this resolution as to whether we want to do this.
Got one.
That's only like to be with your parents.
Oh, it's okay, I take
You want us
notes.
to make some copies?
And Chester, this is something that Chester prepared for some. I'm going to ask you to read this.
Sir, resolution by the Board of Commissioners supporting the display of the national motto, quote, "In God We Trust," end quote, in a prominent location at the courthouse in Macon County, North Carolina. That whereas "In God We Trust" became the United States national motto on July 30th, 1956, shortly after our nation led the world through the trauma of World War II. And whereas the words have been used on United States currency since 1864. And whereas the same inspiring slogan is engraved above the entrance to the Senate chamber as well as above the speaker's dais in the House of Representatives. And whereas in both war and peace, these words have been a profound source of strength and guidance to many generations of Americans. And whereas the county desires to display this patriotic motto in a way to solemnize public occasions and express confidence in our society. Now therefore, upon motion of Commissioner Blank, seconded by Commissioner Blank, and duly approved, be it hereby resolved by the Macon County Board of County Commissioners as follows. Code. Resolved that Macon County does hereby determine that the historic and patriotic words of our national motto, "In God We Trust," shall be permanently and prominently displayed on the courthouse at Macon County, North Carolina, and to remain there in perpetuity. Resolved that the clerk of the board shall certify to the passage and adoption of this resolution and to enter it into the book of resolutions. And it would be adopted effective this day. There's more to so imply.
Thank you, Chester. Questions? Motion to adopt. We have a motion. Do we have a second to that motion? Second by motion by Commissioner Shields, second by Commissioner Hinkton. Any discussion?
I think it is appropriate for you to have some discussion about your purpose in adopting this resolution if you're so inclined.
I will state, as chairman, that I would agree with the wording of the resolution that we're adopting this as the national motto, recognize this as the national motto, not placing it on our courthouse.
I concur with
Good job.
All one of our recent trips to Washington, actually seen this. The U.S. Senate and House of Representatives.
And I too, had the privilege of saying that and also seeing this motto there. And certainly if both places in the Senate chamber and the Speaker's diocese can display that motto, I think that will be displayed in Macon County with that motto, I support the bill.
I support it. It's our national motto. We're not very proud of it. Wear it on, on advertising. So I strongly support it.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
Aye.